Okie dokie spookies, welcome to another installment of wacky Lorcana fun times with your main man with a plan, TheXploder, here on the tubes. Hope you're all doing fantastic and looking forward to the next set of Lorcana. I now have a tier list in front of me, and today we are going to be building this list with all the cards we have for the Archazia set that is coming out. I've slightly changed this around, so we've got my tiers, which are holy wow, freaking awesome, super nice, decent, not my jam, poopy, and vanilla cards, because I don't think vanillas deserve the hate, I just think they deserve their own space. Let's put it that way. I'm just going to be slapping the cards in where I think they belong. I'm going to be putting into consideration meta relevance and competitive relevance, but on top of all that, also thinking about draft and sealed play, and the casual play, because I think a lot of people just think of meta and competitive. I want to also bear in mind casuals and fun build plays, and I love making fun wacky decks all day long anyway, so let's have some fun and see what we come up with here. First things first, we're going to start off with the Crystal. I don't really like this card. It's not my jam. I don't think it's poopy, it's just not my jam. It just isn't. I believe the effect of this was that if you have a character that was damaged this turn, you exert it and you gain a lore. Decent if you want to use it in specific decks, but most of the time you just don't want damage on you, so it's not my jam. It's borderline poopy, but I'm going to go not my jam. I want to be fair. Now, Akala, I like, but he is vanilla, so he's going to sit in the vanilla pool. But I shout out to Akala and shout out to my gorgeous other half, who is a huge fan of wolves. I will be making a deck for her based around Akala because she loves wolves. But vanilla he sits, but he might be at the top of a vanilla list just because of that. No bias, no bias. Next, the Archimedes. Not my jam. I think he's a higher on my jam spot than the Crystal, but he's just not my jam. I'm not liking what he does. Now, our first legendary of a bunch, Aurora. So I like her stat block. I think her being a pretty crack singer is pretty nice. I only think she's decent. I don't see it, but yet again, I'll be fully open when I say this. I'm not an Amber Steel song guy, and I'm not a song deck guy in general. There's a lot more decks for this can sit in because it's only Amber, so that's good. And so I think we will see play in a lot of decks for outside of Amber Steel song as well as in Amber Steel song. So I like that. It's just decent. It's definitely a jam, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be crazy, but it's decent. To my eyes, it's decent. This Shift Baymax, on the other hand, freaking awesome. I borderline holy wow, but freaking awesome. Because for me, I love the idea of Emerald Sapphire anyway. This gives me vibes. I'm digging vibes. Like, finally inventors have a go-to robot, and the heroes make sense, right? I just only think he's freaking awesome. I would love to build a deck around him, simple as. The Dual Color Belle. Now, for the Dual Color Belle, at first I thought she was brilliant, and I would have originally put her in freaking awesome. I think now I'll just put her in super nice. There's something about her that I want to try building, and it's kind of like this interesting idea for a hyper aggro ramping item deck that involves her, Maurice's workshop and all that jazz, and Gleam, and you're just getting a buttload of lore for basically banishing your own items and rinse and repeating it. So there's something there, and it's super nice in my eyes. But even then, no, I think it's super nice. I'm being honest with myself, right? And this is my list, it's not your list. I'm not trying to generalize it. I'm just putting it out there and putting my thoughts out there. Next up, we got another vanilla card, and it's vanilla, but it is one of them ice, but you're not Akala, sorry. This Bolt has support, and I would say it's okay, but support's poopy. I'm very sorry for anyone that likes Bolt and likes support. I love Bolt. I love the Bolt cards. Don't like support still. I still think support is way too slow. just way too slow as a mechanic. And I haven't seen the thing yet that makes me want to make a support-based deck. Support splash tech? Yes. And I'm probably thinking, like, in sealed and draft, that bolt would be perfectly fine, if not really, really good, because he quests for 2. So you know what? I think with that logic alone, he's actually not my jam. More not my jam. If we think of him in a draft, sealed, limited format, not my jam, but you know what? Decent in that format, but only ever in that format. Not necessarily poopy. The other bolts where I believe this is if you put a card in your inkwell, you can draw a card, discard a card. Or no, if you start your turn and he doesn't have any damage on him, you get to do that. Poopy. I really don't like it. I just don't like the effect of that bolt in particular. I would rank the Amber Bolt higher. I just think all around poopy card. I don't like it. The Shift Floodborn Bolt. I really like this bolt, but I only think he's decent. And I don't think he's as decent as the Aurora. I loved him when I first saw him, and I'm sure if I pull him, I'm going to be ending up making a deck around him, and I'm going to fall in love. But outside of like a bodyguard-focused Amber Steel deck that maybe uses Mittens, and we'll get to Mittens later, only decent in my eyes. I don't see him being crazy, at least in my eyes. The new Clarabelle. Not my jam. Not my jam. Definitely on the lower end of not my jam, but higher than Archimedes. I don't know. Again, in sealed limited format, she'll probably be great because she quests for 2, and questing for 2 in sealed and limited, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You want that. Outside of that, hard to tell. Not my jam. Again, another support character. What can I say? Another support. Next up, who do we have here? Oh, this is Dr. Cornelius, whatever his face is. I quite like him because of the tech that he has, and what he does. And he does have a high resist level. I'm actually going to put him in decent, but I think he's like on the same level as me as Bolt for what he does. I think he's quirky. There are definitely really fun quirky decks you can build with him. And he's a jam, and I think I will like the jam. So he's definitely outside of not my jam, but I don't know, there's something about him where I can't put him any higher than decent, at least in my eyes. We have one of your brand new Aristocats, beautiful stuff. You're going to go higher on the list, but not as high as Akala. Very sorry. Edgar! You have a bottom, dude. Sorry, Vanilla Edgar. Ooh. The giant cobra. I actually think this cobra's really nice, and if I dare say, it's nicer than Belle. I actually really rate the cobra. I think it's a great stat block, great on curve, inkable, great effect. Counts as an illusion as well if you're doing illusion tech with the new Jafar. I'm hyped. Even outside of that tech, it's an awesome card to play. So I'm looking forward to using it. What do we have next, I wonder? We have this, which is... Ah, yes, I know what that is. Oh yeah, he's a twamp. That's why we love him. Now, when I first saw this card, I would have probably put it at super nice. There was something about this card that was calling to me. I think if you can get enough characters out, and in very specific decks, I think it would be great. Its hindrance is that it's in Emerald, but it is a one-cost song in Emerald that also bounces off of Muses. So with that alone, I think it's actually higher than decent, but only super nice. I can't put it any higher than super nice. And it's not as nice as Belle, but there's something quirky with Tramp. Or he's a tramp. And I kind of want to try it. Hero, and this is the new hero that relies on shift characters. I am interested in him. Again, he's higher than Tramp, lower than Belle. And I think it's because I can jam with it, I like it, and I like the shift thing, and I want to put him up here because Baymax is currently at freaking awesome. It makes sense. The Iago, originally I thought the Iago was decent. He's actually super nice. For what he does on curve with illusions, I think he's really nice. Outside of illusions, probably not that great, but super nice. Super nice. Vistafar, I really don't like Vistafar. I think he's poopy. I really don't like his tech. Again, I'd probably say in Limited, he's probably really good because he quests for 2, and that's always a net positive. Outside of Limited, not my jam. He's poopy. I'm just going to say it. Originally, he was not my jam. He's poopy. In my eyes, I just think he's poopy. Illusion Jafar. Now, he's in the starter deck. I know starter deck characters aren't normally the most dominant characters, but you know what? There's something about illusions I like, but they're not there yet. They're going to suffer from the broom problem, which is that I like the gimmick, but the gimmick doesn't have nearly enough options yet to make it fully viable. So with that in mind, he's decent, but I think he's on the higher end of decent so far, only lower than Aurora. Because I think Aurora will definitely see more play over the Jafar. I think Jafar, again, in Sealed is cracked. Questing for 2, getting your illusions out, bouncing them back to your hand, playing them back out again. But he doesn't reduce cost like the Mickey does for brooms, and that irks me a little bit. But I think the set after this one will probably get more illusion tech out, so that's cool for something to look forward to. But he's decent. I think he's okay. Then we have more Kakamuras. Yee, poopy. I'm not a fan of the Kakamuras anyway. I think the Kakamuras are quirky. I think if anything, the legendary Kakamura from the last set is probably the best one if you were to use it in any format. I just don't like them. I don't know what it is. I don't like the Kakamura tech. I know they're pirates. I know it's a steel pirate and we have the new Pete card, but it just doesn't work for me. Simple as. Canine Crunchies is freaking awesome, and I will fight anyone that says otherwise. Puppies gaining willpower? Puppy tech in general, I'm falling in love with this set. I will fight you for some Canine Crunchies. Let's freaking go. Nice to see the king. He's higher than Edgar. So, there you go. Then we have Lady. Lady's interesting. I want to say Lady's decent. But I have to be brutally honest, I think Lady's not my jam. And she's on the lower end of not my jam. There's something about the Lady and Tramp tech in Emerald Amber that just... it's not intriguing me. It's not grabbing me. That might change. This is before the set comes out, and that might completely change, and I find a combination that's really quirky, involving the dogs, and I want to just put them all out there. But there's something about that Lady I don't like. So sadly, Lady's going to go away. But Shift Lady is more of a jam. And I think she's decent. But I think she's more decent than Bolt. I actually think she's more decent than Jafar. More decent than Jafar, not as decent as Aurora. I like what she does. Again, it's kind of like borderline not my jam because of the Lady before her, but you know what? I've kind of got more of a jam with that Lady because she does something I'm more intrigued with. But I'm not there yet. Again, I think the color combination for me is a little bit weird. Like, what we got? We got like the Mountain Dew 7-Up friggin' Lucasade color scheme. Insert your flavor of soda here, I guess. It's not my jam. It's not my jam. Isabella, your boyfriend's here. He's poopy. I love he's in the game. And we can just go, Emanuela's on his way. I love it, but he's poopy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He's a little bit poop. We have another kitty from the Aristocat poopy. Outside of a competitive format in Limited, again, she quests for 2. In Limited, you know what? She deserves to be in not my jam. Because in Limited Sealed format, Limited Sealed Draft format, actually decent, quest for 2, lowers attack of your opponent's characters if you want to charge into them. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. Not a deck buster by any means, but you know what? She has play. And I will give her that. She has plays. Then we have Mittens. If you were telling me the Mittens is decent, I will fight you. Now, Bolt is not my jam so far, and the Shift Bolt is decent. Mittens, and this is going to be a bit of a controversial pick, I actually think Mittens is super nice. I actually think she's more nice. She's actually on par with me with Belle. There's something about Mittens that I like the look of and I like the feel of, And there's something about Mittens that makes me go, oh, I want it. You know, it's the tech. I'm a sucker for techie plays. And again, if I can make Mittens work, then it would probably up Bolt from decent to super nice. And I think Mittens is still super nice. It was freaking awesome when I first saw her, but at least still super nice. I really like Mittens. Mushu, baby. You know what? Mushu's freaking awesome. I actually really love Mushu. He's on par with Baymax for me. I think he's on that same level. He opens up Ruby Steel being a really cool color combination and makes that combination in general just really fun to immediately dive into. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. If I pull enough copies of him, we're making a deck. It's as simple as that. Next one up, Pain. Or is that Panic? No, that's Panic. I always get the two mixed up. He manipulates damage. He's not that great. He's poopy. He's actually poopy poop, and I don't like him. Sorry, Panic. I just don't like him. This doggo gal that I can't remember. Meg! Oh, it's not Meg. Not my jam. Like, she's, again, it's on the same par. It's like what I said earlier with Lady. I just think the color combination doesn't do it for me. The tech doesn't do it for me. A very personal call. But there you go. I think I'm just there with them. Ruffles, I believe that is. Ruffles, I think. Decent effect for the puppies. I only think he's decent. I think he's a very decent puppy tech, but he's not the godlike puppy tech. You want to talk godlike puppy? Oh, you Perdita. Super nice. I actually think she's more super nice than Mittens. No, I'm actually going to put her more super nice than Belle. There's something about the puppies I'm falling in love with this set. Perdita's awesome. I don't even care. But you know what else is super nice? Raja. And Raja's going to actually go with the Cobra for me. Raja and Cobra and Iago, just with the illusions alone, are fantastic picks. It's just a shame that the Jafar's a bit lower, but it's how I'm feeling. It's just how I'm vibing right now. This one, excusez-moi, that was a cheeky burp there. Ratigan. People are ranking this Ratigan all over the place. I've seen some of the rankings. Now, I love me some rats. I don't know about you guys, I can rat again and again as much as I want. I only think he's super nice, and he's not as nice as the illusions, personally. I'm not sold on him yet. I feel like it's one of those cards where I need to see him played in order to put him off properly. But I still think he's decent. I think it's cool removal. He's inkable. What he's able to do is decent. And if you can make a combination play, it can be really dope. I think he sits really well in the Ruby Emerald deck that's currently being built. So that's cool. Very quirky. Very nice. Not my jam. But he is super nice. He deserves to be super nice because I can see some creative things with him. I can't put him anywhere high because I can't visualize it. That's my problem. Just can't visualize it. Then we got the spaghetti. It's poopy. I'm sorry. I don't like the spaghetti. I think it's too slow. I don't like that it's uninkable. I just don't like what it does. Simple as. I don't like what it does. And glass slipper. Can I speak? I think glass slipper is poopy. I'm just gonna say it. I think adding princes and princesses into the same deck is not worth it. You want to build princesses on their own for Queen Sensicore, or like, and Queen Sensicore is great because you get lore. King Sensicore is decent because your kings and princes get resist. But you still want to mostly run Queen Sensicore for the lore gained, of course you do. But even then, like, this whole mechanic of prince and princess on theme? I mean, in a Cinderella themed deck, that's the card for you. I think the Enchanted is beautiful. The card is poopy. Just in my eyes, the card is just utter poop. At least in my opinion. Fat Mulan! I love this. I've got to put her in super nice. And I'm sorry. I have to put her in super nice. Under the grounds, but the funny times you can have with this character are non-stop. Every time I will play this card in any format, I will go Fat Mulan and just do any lines that I can, like poverty. The memes. For the memes, she's super nice. She's on the low end of super nice. Do not get me wrong. I love her. The matchmaker. I love her too much. Now, O'Malley's totally going to join the fun of the group, but he's not a Carla. But I like my cats, though. Another vanilla kitty. Gonna go down. Sorry, he's vanilla, and I'm not keen on him. Tramp. Now, Tramp's interesting. And as much as I have the lady in Not My Jam, I think Tramp's decent, but he's at the bottom end of decent for me. Again, like, well, he has the exact same ability as he's a Tramp, and that's cool. But I think I prefer the song over the character, because I think the song can be more speedy. You can only pay one and it's active and it goes. While with Tramp, you need to play around him and he's a character on board. I get it, you want your characters out on board, but I don't know, again, there's something about the color combination that's not screaming for me. But he's decent. I think he's decent in his deck and outside of his deck specifically. The Beast is not my jam. And he's even lower on my jam list than the Crystal. I think in that starter deck, the Bell is better. I just don't rate the Beast. I don't think Beast is going to be as good in comparison to the Bell. I think for the cost that you're paying to play that Beast and what he does, it's not as viable. I think there are more viable targets at that cost range to play out and build decks around and have quirky fun times with. At least in my opinion. So, sorry Beast, you're just not my jam. Calhoun. I want to love this Calhoun, but the fact that she's in Amber Ruby is weird. Because the decent Calhoun that we all know and love is in Steel, and you can't play her in this color combination, but she's Racer Tech. I personally love Racer Tech. I made the Speedway deck for last set, really enjoy it. If you haven't already seen it, check out the Hey Hey tournament with Tuk Tuk Goose, the Hey Hey themed Speedway deck, that if you played it right, it was really fun, and the combo's really fun. It was just too quirky for AI to manage. I like this Calhoun. She quests for 2. She has a nice effect for racers specifically. I'm actually going to put her in decent. And I think she's on the higher end of decent. No, you know what? That feels dirty to me. She's higher than Bold, but not as high as Jafar for me. There's something about her I like, but I don't think I can put her any higher than decent. Because I'm like, where's the shift target? I don't know. I really don't know. Now, Kenai, I think this is Kenai from Brother Bear. This is actually a really cool card. I think he's super nice. I think he's on the same level to me as like the Matchmaker, but there's something about him that gets me going, ooh, nice. The bad part is he doesn't count as a hero, but he's not necessarily a hero in Brother Bear, so I get it. But in the Ruby Steel deck that he's meant for, I think he's actually super nice. I think he deserves to be there. This Hades I don't see. I don't see this Hades. Some people are going crazy over him. I don't see it. I think he's decent. I just don't rate him as highly as other people do. It's just my opinions on that one. The Cusco, I don't think I can put him any higher than decent, but I think he's higher than the puppies. He's around about there. Again, I could see more potential with Cusco in my eyes for creating decks, but there's something about him that's not. It's not driving me. It's not making me go like, ooh, I must get that. Clucker though, oh yeah, freaking awesome. Let's go. Let's cluck and go. Let's go. This whole idea of a Sapphire Steel Allies deck is really intriguing. I think the Cluckster is a really nice card. She intrigues me, and she intrigues me in a way that makes me want to make something cool. I know some people are going to say, Medusa can get rid of her, and I'm like, if you're going into deck building worried that every time you're going to hit a Medusa, dude, like, Chill out. Literally. I love her. I think the Clucker is really cool, and I'm going to love making a deck around her. Simple as that. Mad Hatter, I think, is freaking awesome as well. I think he's... all of these shifts, like dual color... not even just like shifts, but all of these dual color cards that I'm putting in freaking awesome right now are legit freaking awesome. There's something about the Mad Hatter I'm really liking. I'm really liking this Emerald Ruby color scheme. I think it's really cool, really dynamic. It opens up that color scheme to be a really interesting deck for me. I like it. I like it a lot. Smee. I am currently building this Smee in a version of the PP deck, as I'm calling it, or Pirate Pete deck, but PP sounds funny. I don't know how to rate him yet. I think he's decent, and for me, he's higher on the decent list than Lady, because I feel like I can do more with him, but I don't think he's as decent as Aurora still. And I think he's only decent as a pirate, and again... I wouldn't put him at like a 4 of, maybe at like maximum, maybe 2, maybe 3 at a push. But, yeah, he's cool. He does it. I like it. I can dig it. He's fair, but he's only decent. He's only decent. This Mufasa. I have fallen in love with the card art of this Mufasa. I think it's super nice. I think in the scale of super nice... I think it's up there with Raja and the gang. He's not an illusion. I want to emphasize this if you're new to the set in general. That Mufasa is not an illusion card. I'm putting him up there simply on vibes. Like, Quest for 2, nice effect. Amethyst Steel is one of my favorite color combinations and is my OG color combination in the game. I really like him. Really, really like him. I want to do something with him. I think in Sealed... draft and limited formats, I think he's great. I think he's really solid. Like, love him, that Mufasa. Really, really am. And possibly my favorite artwork in the set. It's up there. Pascal. I really like this Pascal, actually. For hyper aggro, this Pascal's really, really cool. And I think he deserves to go into super nice. And I think he deserves to go into super nice over Ratigan, but only just. Because... I feel like I can vibe with Pascal because I know what deck I'm going to put him in, while with Ratigan, I can vibe with him, he has potential, I just don't see the full potential, let's put it that way. Next up, is that Susie? Or is that one of the mice? I think that is one of the mice, yes. This mouse was interesting. I think she's decent, but I think she's decent on like the level of Calhoun, but higher than Bolt. I don't see her any higher than that for me personally. Again, it's the color combination thing for me. And it's a very personal thing, because some of you guys are probably in the comments going right now going, oh my god, Amber Emerald in this set's going to be cracked, and I can't wait for it. And that's great. That's great. You build it. You build it because that's your vibe. It's just not vibing with me. I like it. There's something I like about it. I can't put it any higher than decent because the color combo is just making me go, like out of Home Improvement. It's just one of those things. This is the new healer dolphin. It's poopy. Anything involving healing is too slow. Like, I don't see it. I genuinely don't see it. I've been wanting to build Pabby for so many sets, and it's still not there. Healing is just not worth it unless you damage yourself. Unless you damage yourself, it's not worth it. And I just don't... I don't know. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. This Sven I do see. I think in limited formats he's actually pretty decent. But I think that's where he sits. He sits on a very decent level. And I think he's like on the same level of like the Calhouns and all that jazz. He's okay. I don't think he's going to be absolutely incredible. I just think he's okay. Interesting color combination. Yeah. Now, the Troubadour. Great to see him in the game. New Three Musketeers card. I actually think he's freaking awesome. He replaces, for me, Vanessa in the Amber Steel play, but I think outside of Amber Steel's song, he's actually just a decent Amber Steel character in general. I'm actually going to put him higher than K9 Crunchies, but I think he's on the same level as the other dual color cards here. I don't necessarily have them any higher or any lower than each other. They're all freaking awesome to me. Just across the board. Yokai. This new yokai that focuses on shift things, super nice. And I'm going to put him over Perdita because there's something about that color combination I really dig. Again, combining it with the fact that the Baymax is freaking awesome, I like something about that yokai. Again, this whole idea of having to like balance shifting things, I like it. Geyser's freaking awesome. I'm going to put that alongside Baymax at the top. There's something about Geyser that makes me want to just troll my opponents. Like, I'd want to hyper ramp as high up as I can, get a board set up with some crazy stuff, activate Geyser, go back to free ink on both sides of the board, get some cards out, and just, like, control the board like mad. At Sapphire Emerald tempo could totally be a thing. I can see this being used with cards like Muses. It's pretty darn cool. And in the deck that features Baymax, I think there's something to be done here, and I'm liking it. I'm here for it. I want to see it. I want to see it. This Madame Medusa, I don't like her. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really don't like... You know what? I think she's the poopiest card in the set. It's like she's poopy for me because I'm disappointed. It's like she's a disappointing card for me. I don't like her. I don't like the vibes. I don't like the effect. I just don't like her. And in that color combination, no. I just don't like it personally. It's a very personal hit, but it's a disappointing poopy card. I'm just putting it there. Now we have Milo Fadge. I forget what this Milo does, but I'm not going to put him in poopy. I think he's... yeah, he's not my jam. But I think he's on the higher jam than Beast. I don't think the Milo's my jam. That could change, depending on if I remind myself about his effects. Okay, so he gives chosen character +2 this turn when you play an action. I like it. If he was in Emerald, so you can shift on, like, the big Milo. Oh, but you can! Big Milo and put him in, like, Ruby Emerald, where you want damage? You want that to happen? You know what? I think he's decent. I actually think he's decent. More decent than Hades. I'm not quite there, but I think he's decent. I could see something being made about him, and I like that. I like that a lot. Aha, now the Beagle Boys. You know what? This may irk a few people. Beagle Boys are freaking awesome. I love the Beagle Boys. Are you kidding me? That color combination, its effect, how cool it is. I'm loving it. I'm really loving the tech that you can do with Beagle Boys. I like it. I'm here for it. I can tell you that. I'm here for me some Beagle Boys. Let's go. Love it. And I love the artwork as well. Like DuckTales. Shout out to DuckTales. It's just one of my go-to gems. Chernabog. New Chernabog. Happy to see him. I think he's a bit poopy. Not a big fan. Just not a big fan. I don't think he's going to do a lot, but he's there. He's cool. It's what happens. Okay, so I had to remind myself about what this Cinderella did because I genuinely forgot. Yes, she quests for 2, so in sealed, limited formats, etc., she's okay. She's a searcher for the glass slipper, so guess what? She's matching with the glass slipper. I'm sorry, glass slipper for me's not doing it. Just not, I'm not sold. Gizmo Duck, my boy. Holy wow. And I need to explain why Gizmo Duck is the first Holy Wow. You need to understand, when the DuckTales cards were first done, I was going insane because I love me some DuckTales. And I was thinking to myself, you have Gizmo, you have Scrooge, you have a bunch of these great characters. Where is my boy, like, Gizmo Duck, the proper, like, armored Gizmo Duck, right? And he's finally here. He's got a cool effect. He immediately tackles into damage characters. Emerald Steel has the Robin Hood setup, so you can just deal damage. The Shift Robin Hood, the Robin Hood that gives you lore if you bail damage characters out on board. I dig it. I love it. I think Gizmo Duck is an awesome character outside of Lorcana. In Lorcana, I'm loving the artwork, loving the color combination, loving the effect, loving it has resist +1, loving that it can attack into anything as long as it's damaged. Love, 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 love. So he's Holy Wow. For me personally, he's Holy Wow because I'm like, oh my god, I was not expecting Gizmo Duck at all. Especially in this set. I was just not expecting him. Holy Wow. Then we have a brand new vanilla Hey Hey. Great to see him, but he's a vanilla. But you know what? I have a soft spot for Hey Hey. He goes right at the front, underneath Akala for obvious reasons. This new legendary Mickey that lets you play things for free. There's something magical about him that I like. I think he is freaking awesome. Totally. I'm not putting him higher than Beagle Boys. But I still think he's freaking awesome. There's something about him that makes me go, ugh! You know, like I'm interested, I'm invested, I want it. So I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it. Then we have this. Is this a mini? Mini Ramushka? I don't think I've seen this mini. Okay, so I've had to remind myself what this mini does. So she gains lore when you play characters, and then when she quests, she can put minus attack on a character equal to the amount of lore that she has, which is a very interesting mechanic. And it is until the start of your next turn. So hear me out. There's going to be a quirky deck out there that's going to love that card. And part of me wants to say yes, but bear in mind is whenever you play a character, it's not based on the amount of characters you have out, is it? Yeah, so you have to consistently play out characters to make her viable. She's uninkable. In that color combination, there's a lot of uninkable stuff anyway. I don't want to say she's poopy. It's not my jam. She's not my jam. I think she's like on the same scale as like the lady in them lot, but lower down, because that's a lot of requirements just to get her 2 effects to trigger off, right? A lot. Like, she's a big investment, and it's not my jam. Sometimes you can invest too much into your girl. I'm joking, of course. Moving on. Okay, Razul. If you have Jafar out, he can banish an item. Item remover and steal is good. He's not good, he's poopy. I'm sorry, Razul. I rate his... The version of Razul that gains attack bonuses when he's undamaged is much better. And he actually quests for 2, I believe, as well. I think he's a better Razul. This one, no. Not my jam. I believe this is one of the Stabby brothers, as I like to call him. Not my jam. Just not my jam. I love that they're here. I didn't think we were going to get the Stabby brothers, but we do. Just not my jam. Simple as. Then we have... I think this is a different tramp. I have not seen this one. There's so many cards I haven't seen. So I had to remind myself again of this. Like I'm starting to realize some of these cards I have seen, others of these cards I have just not seen apparently, which is mad. I kind of dig this tramp, and I think I'm going to put him on the lines with the other tramp. I think he's decent. Again, color combination doesn't do it for me. I like the fact that he can come out cheaper depending on the amount of characters you have out, which is good for the tech that you want to do. But then drawing the cards to then discarding the cards can work in your favor if you've got that tech going on and you know what you need and what you don't need. I don't know, it's not my jam, but I like it. I like it, but it's decent. It's decent, it's on the same level as the others. I can see its quirky potential, not for me. But it's decent, I'll put it there. We have Yzma the Kitty. Not my jam. Just straight up not my jam. I don't think she's the best. I think there are way better Yzmas out there, personally. Yeah, just not my jam. Bagheera. I'm really happy to see Bagheera in the game in general. I think this Bagheera will be played hella lots, I think, in every format from limited to competitive and everywhere else in between. I think this is by far one of the greatest cards in the set. Immediate holy wow. That is the legendary to fight for, in my opinion, or one of the legendaries to fight for. Beautiful card. I rate him. I think he's great. I think this this Watson card though, pretty poopy. I'm sorry, Watson. I love Basil the Great Mouse Detective. I love, but I just don't love him. Sorry, not my jam. This Madrigal, however, actually super nice, and I'm gonna put her probably on the same level as Mittens. She's super nice, really cool, quirky effect. Something will happen involving this card, and I'm here for it. And I think it's super nice in the right hands. Is it my hands? Probably not. But I think it's super nice. You can't tell me you're giving me a character that can quest for 4 lore and do some crazy business, and it's just not going to work. There's something about this card that's going to work. Someone will find it, and I think it's super nice. This coda, I love the artwork. He quests for free, I think, in a very decent deck. I know he's vanilla. I think he's on the higher end of vanilla. The fact that he quests for free is just chef's kiss. He is your limited format godsend. If you pull this bad boy in limited, you are running this guy in limited and you're winning your limited format games. It's as simple as that. Whale Cusco is poopy. I don't rate him. I don't think he's great. Madrigali Ageni. I don't know what to think about her. I find her decent. And I think she's on the like same lines as Calhoun. Not necessarily where I would go with her, and I can't put her anywhere higher than decent, but I think there's a deck there that people are going to go crazy for. It's not me, but maybe it's you, and I want to bear that in mind. I think she's decent. I find her decent, and I want to see her like pull it off. I really do. Mr. I love it! Mr. Evil Guy that draws you cards for banishing items. I think he's cool. I think in conjunction with some of the new items that want to be banished, he's interesting. I just think he's not my jam. I think that turn 1 spot in an item deck is a very fragile place to be, and there's a lot of fantastic options right now. I don't think he's there. Even in like, maybe if you pull the right cards in a limited format and you're able to get him a bunch of 1-drop items, 2-drop items that like to be banished, like Maurice's Machine and what is it, the random tool, whatever it's called. If you can get those in a limited format, I think he's actually okay, but only okay. Outside of that, in competitive, I don't see him at all being played. But it's cool. It's quirky. He's a villain. If you like your villain tech. And I love it. So someone out there, someone in the comments will go, I love it. And I don't blame you. Mulan that does the same thing as the Simba, but has the stat block reversed. Not my jam, but I respect it. I respect it. I think she has more potential because she has some fantastic shift targets. Not my jam, but I like her. Actually, you know what? I think she's decent. She's decent because of the shift targets that she has in Steel and Ruby. Really decent. And I think she's actually more decent than a couple of these guys. Now, she's actually on the same side as Milo for me. Where, like, Milo's decent because of the specific deck where you can have him as a shift target going into Big Milo. I think it's the same case with Mulan, where in the right deck where you want to shift into the big Ruby Mulan or the new big Ruby Steel Mulan, she's great. Outside of that, hard. And I just think she's quirky. I think she's actually decent. Pacha. If you have more cards in your hand than your opponent, he quests for +2. And he already quests for 1, so he can quest for 3. Again, in limited and sealed formats, I think he's pretty good. But he's not my jam. He's not my jam. I think, outside of limited formats, I don't see him. But in limited formats, go nuts. I think in limited formats, he can be really nice. Then we have this gal from Bolt. I'm going to be honest, she's not my jam. She's not my jam, but I think she's higher on the not my jams. Probably just underneath Archimedes. Again, there's something about her where I'm like, yeah, limited. It's actually okay. Outside of that, I don't see it. I don't see her at all. Like, I don't know. Maybe there's like a cracked play that someone will explain to me in the chat where she goes, what are you talking about? She's busted. And I'll be like, yeah, that's cool. I don't see it. I don't see it. I think she's just not my jam. It's not my jam. What can I say? The tier explains itself. It is not my jam. This one where we have Jafar doing all of his techie bits with a Hex World Crown and all the crown bits coming together. Don't like the card. I think the card is overpriced, doesn't do enough, and it's just not my jam. Don't think it's poopy, but it's definitely on the top end of not my jam, because it's really not my jam. If I pulled that in a sealed limited game, I'd be disappointed. Let's put it that way. I'm disappointed in that card already just looking at him. I'm also disappointed with his Robin Hood because it's a free cost support. He has a decent stat block, but guess what? He's poopy. He's just poopy. He is just poop. Simple as. I do like the duel. I do like this song for the Madrigals, but I think it's on the same level as the Madrigal character for me. I think that, again, color combination is a bit weird and I'm not too keen on it. I don't see it, but I think it's okay. I think it's decent. And yeah, I can see some decent things. Toby, my boy. I love Toby. Who's a good Toby? He's up there, but he's not as high as the Chicken Boy for me. And yeah, I'm happy Toby's here. Sad he doesn't have an effect when Felicia at least has Reckless, but hey ho, you know what? Toby, in Limited, I like him. New Tuk Tuk. I think he's poopy. I don't rate him. I really don't. I don't like bodyguards that don't have any attack stats. I don't like it. I get it. Like, I think Baloo is by far the best bodyguard that has no attack, because at least Baloo gives you lore when he's banished, and you have to banish him one way or another, and it can be by any means. That Baloo is stupid good. This Tuk Tuk is not on the same level. I'm sorry, not my jam. This card, however, is interesting. But again, it's not my jam. Well, while Tuk Tuk is poopy, I can see something happening with this card, but it's not my jam. I'm not feeling it. I'm not going crazy for it. It's just there. And I think that's it. New Laddie. So you know what I was saying earlier involving the Cluckster, where I'm loving this idea with allies? This is your ally playmaker. This new Aladdin is all about allies. I dig it. I like it. I think he's super nice. And I think for me, he's on the same level as Yokai, on the level of super nice. He's not as amaze good as the Cluck, but I like the Laddie. I think in an ally-based deck, he's pretty darn great, and you would totally play him. And I think in limited formats, he's brilliant because he quests for 2. And even if you just have a bunch of vanilla allies, in the limited format, he's really freaking good. Wow. Hell yeah. I think he is really super nice. This sings... I don't like the song. I think it's poopy. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I don't rate it. I just don't rate it. I'm sorry. I'm not there. I don't like it. I don't like this one either. I think it's a bit poop. Yeah, we're starting to get into the territory of these... Like these... I guess they're like Lorcana armor cards, where like if you put something into your inkwell, they do a thing. I like the mechanic. I don't like the majority of these items. There's one that's the best, and one that I think is okay. Outside of that, I think the others are trash, and this is one of them. It's just poopy. Poopy. Speaking of poopy, there's another one. Done. Easy. We're going through them. Speaking of poopy, there's another one. We're rapid firing these few because I really don't like them. Baloo, I think is super nice. I think he's up there alongside Belle for me. Again, I would love Baloo for a bear themed deck, like bear decks that bear with. I like it. And bare necessities, yo, I can bear with it. I'm just putting in all the bear quotes. There's something about him I like, basically. So, same about this Basil. I think this Basil's super nice, but he's not hyper high. I think he's there with Fat Mulan, the matchmaker. He's okay. He's okay. I think this Baymax is perfectly decent for limited formats, but outside of that, I don't see it. I think this Baymax is just not my jam. I'm not feeling him. I'm not feeling... and you know what? I actually say he's decent alongside the other Baymax, but on the low end. On the low end. This item, however, that helps with the... If you play a shift character, you are able to then draw a card. I actually think it's super nice. I think it works quite well with the new Yokai and the new, like, Floodborn tech we got going on here. I can dig it. I can absolutely dig it. I think it's okay. Bucky? Bucky? But Poopy, get out of here! Look. When Bucky, before the errata, I played Bucky. I predicted Bucky's, potential before Bucky broke the game. Ever since then, I'm like, okay, there's got to be a decent Bucky coming out of the future, right? That is not decent. I think he's poopy. End of. No fight in the comments. I really don't like the Buckster, and that's the buck of that. Candlehead, great name. Not my jam. I think she's not one of the best racers in the game. I don't even think she's a viable racer for the racer-themed deck. And not even for limited. Do not even run races for limited because you don't have access to Speedway. Just don't do it. Don't do it. However, Card Soldiers I think is decent. Has damage on him, increases attack. I think he's okay. He's a definite viable character if you're running low on viable characters if you're running a limited format. Outside of that, probably not. I think there are much better one-drops that you can put in over him. But specifically for the limited formats, I think he's decent. Low-end decent, but decent. In limited format, decent because he will be able to deal damage to already damaged characters and quest for 2. That's great. But he's not my jam. I don't like him in the grand scheme of things outside of a limited format. And even then, if you're already damaging a character that has damage on them, it's a bit of a waste. I just don't like that mechanic, personally. This Cogsworth, however, where if you have a discarded item, he gains attack that makes him... you can no longer get rid of him with Brawl and Medusa. I rate that very good. I think he's very nice. And I think he's on the level of, even Baloo for me. And that's putting him quite high. I know that's putting him quite high. And I'm going to fight for that Cogsworth. I like him. Put a couple of him. There's something that I want to do with that Cogsworth in, this Ruby Sapphire item deck idea that I have. Where if you just need a beat stick, he's there to be your beat stick. And even then, put him in, the Ruby Steel deck with Mushu. And now he can have resist. He can buff his own attack up. He can battering ram into basically anything. And all you need is one item in your discard. So Vitalisphere would be a perfect call. Play him out on turn 4 for free cost. Use your extra 1 Vitalisphere onto him. Now he has insane attack. You have your 1 item in there. He gets another attack boost. He has rush. He can basically annihilate anything just with that combo alone. Are you mad? Of course I like this Cogsworth. Also a decent target, finally, for the Resist Cogsworth later on. In the same colour scheme as well, which I like. It's great! We finally have a viable shift target for Cogsworth. Yay! I like it. Cybug. I really like Cybug. I think he's decent. And I think he's going to go pretty high on the decent list. Just because I'm a big fan of the Cybugs in Wreck-It Ralph. Outside of limited format, I don't know. And personally, I think he's not going to see a lot of play outside of limited format. In limited format, however, I love him. I absolutely love him in limited format. This Madrigal's poopy. I really don't like her. Sorry, it's my jam. This Donald Duck that effectively changes the game. So now your opponent has to get 25 lore instead of 20 lore. He's very cool. He's very interesting. He's a tempo play in Amethyst that stops your opponent from winning at 20. So if you're behind, it helps. I think I'm going to put him in freaking awesome alongside the Mickey, where I think they're on that same level where I like them, I want to build something with them, and I hope they do something cool. And as a tempo play, I immediately am interested, because I dig tempo. But again, there's something about him where I just feel... I think he's freaking awesome. I don't know how devastating he's going to be in the format. I think in limited, he's busted. Absolutely busted in limited format if you can get to him fast enough. But... Yeah, I think he's freaking awesome. But not the only Donald that's freaking awesome. This Pirate Donald is really freaking awesome. Putting him right up there alongside Baymax. The main reason? Pirate deck. A pirate deck that uses actions that aren't necessarily songs that you can recycle, put him in Emerald Cove so he has a +1 on his health value, combine him with the Pirate Peats, now he has resist, and now you can't kill him fast enough, and every time you challenge into him, I keep getting the actions back, and it could be boom, it could be fire the cannons, it could be whatever I need to do whatever I want to do whatever I need. It's brilliant. Bearing in mind it can only do it with actions, not songs. But you separate them now, and that's okay. I mean, even if the only card I can viably get out of my discard is fire the cannons, that's 2 damage on anything I want to hit. That's your evasive guy gone. That's 2 damage on anything I want to bong, so I can get rid of it later on, you know? I like him. I think he's freaking awesome for the pirate deck. Double Trouble, where you deal 1 damage to 2 separate targets. Not my jam. I think there's a place for it in a Emerald Steel damagey deck that uses the Robin Hoods, and I can definitely see it. Shout out to Michael at the locals, who loves that Robin Hood tech, by the way. Shout out to him, because this is probably a card for him, and that's great. For me, not my jam. Personally, not my jam. I don't see it fitting into any deck personally. Poopy Vanilla is poopy, and I don't like her anyway because it's one of the ugly stepsisters. You. That's just my response. Controversial take. This Elsa. Poopy. Right. The requirements you need to make that Elsa somewhat playable. I don't know what crack they're smoking. That card is bad. I don't see it. I don't want it. I don't want to play around it. I don't want to play with it. If I see it in limited, I'm immediately putting it back. I don't like her. I really don't. The fact you need an Anna to make her work? No. I'm sorry. It's no. It's no. Simple as. It's no. You know what else is no? This base Elsa. I don't like her. She's not as poopy, but poopy. I'm sorry, I'm disappointed with the Frozen cards this set. They're not doing it for me. Okay, you know what I was saying earlier about the coils? Like the armored cards? Yeah, this was another one, and it's poopy. You better believe it's poopy. I can't believe it's not poopy. Let's put it that way. Interesting Farzu coming up next. This Farzu, he's not poopy. And I like that in a challenge-themed deck, I think he's okay. I think he's decent. I think he's on the lower end of decent. I think if you're able to get off 2 challenges seemingly most of the time, which in the deck with Ruby Steel you should be able to, if you're able to get him out, I think in limited formats, he's great. In limited formats, he's really great. Now, you can consistently get 2 attacks off. That's an immediate free lore. You don't even need to win the challenges. You just need to declare 2 challenges for free lore. If you can somehow combine this Farzu with the Shere Khan, now that's free lore. That's technically... No, let me see. That's 4. Now, that's 1 lore on the first challenge. And then you get 4 lore on the second challenge because of both Farzu and Shere Khan. So that would mean, in the end, you have a 6 lore play with those 2 cards out alone, which sounds quite mad, and all you have to do is to attack twice. And that includes with him. Even if he dies, that's a 3 lore gain that could potentially win you the game. I think he's decent. Don't think he's going to be absolutely bonkers crazy that you'll build a whole deck around. Limited formats, great. Outside of limited formats, hard to put him in a deck. But you know what? I quite like him. Had to double check what that fidget does. Love him in the Emerald Ruby deck that's being made here. I'm going to say it. I think this fidget is actually freaking awesome. I love what he does. I think in limited formats, he's absolutely brilliant. Outside of limited formats, I think he's great. I mean, you can't fire the cannons him as an evasive. You need to smash him, which is good. The fact that whenever he quests for 2, you just give something else evasive until the start of your next turn, that's brilliant. That gives him literal evasion. I think he's awesome. There's definitely a deck to be made here, and I like it. Okay, so the Fix-It Felix really benefits racers. And if you can bring back racer characters to then ready your other racers to then travel into Speedway using starting line, etc. And if it only really works out if you have starting line and a location that can benefit from immediately being moved into, or from a location that will help defend your weakened characters, like Tiana's Palace, for example. Outside of having multiple copies of Finishing Line and Tiana's Palace, maybe Ratigan's Party, if you want to build it that way, I think he's decent. He's on the lower end of decent. He's not as high on the list for me. I only think he's going to be that high. I don't think I can put him on the level of where Calhoun is. I think in the racing deck in general, no. I don't see him. I don't see him at all. Okay, so I need to do some shuffling around because I got a couple of the dogs mixed up. This one that I put in decent is Pepper, and he's the one where if you have a puppy that gets banished, you can put it into your Inkwell face down exerted, so it's puppy ramp. I actually think Freckles is super nice. It's really super nice. So that was Pepper, this is Freckles. Freckles is, like, not my jam in comparison. Coming into play minusing one of your opponents, not even until the start of your next turn, is net worth bad, in my eyes. Sure, one of your puppies can bop in and not take as much damage, especially if you have canine crunchies, but I don't see it. I just rather flood the board with better puppies, in my opinion. Mulman, you disturbed the dirt. Too bad he doesn't disturb me. He's going to go in the bottom. But you know what? I'll rate him higher. Because he's definitely better than Edgar and the Ugly Stepsisters. Is he better than the cats? He's better than the majority of them, but not Thomas O'Malley. O'Malley, the alley cat. Love him. New Gantu. Another Gantu card I really like. I think he's super nice. I want to do something with him. There's something about him that makes me go, yes, aliens, let's go. Again, Galactic Council Chamber makes aliens a lot more desirable for me. I think he's really good. So I'm interested in building something with him. Brand new Mulan card here. I think she's okay. I only ever think she's decent, but I think she's more decent than Bolt. She's okay. I'm not feeling it. Personally, I'm not feeling it. Maybe I'm not reading into it enough. Maybe I've got blinders on and I just not. You don't see what I see. That's okay. I don't know. She doesn't win it for me. She just doesn't. Now, originally this alien pirate guy I really liked until I realized, oh wait, I have a 4-cost Iago that's probably better on curve and reduces my next action by 2 instead of 1, which now makes it so that Baboom, Twin Fire, Fire the Cannons, and a bunch of other actions in Steel and Emerald are free. I think in limited formats, if you want to make Pete Pirate work in limited, perfectly fine. But he's not my jam. Definitely, he's not my jam as of yet. This Floodborn hey boy. It's about freaking time he joined the party. I love his effect. I love what he does. I think it's great that he's finally here. Shout out to Cozy Board Games. Shout out to the Hey tournament. Again, check on the Hey tournament. It took me so long to put together, but it was so much fun. Shout out to the Chicken Boy. I love me some Hey. I actually really like this hero. Not a big fan of his the tournament card that you can get from him from Set Championships, but I like him. I don't think he's freaking awesome though. I think he's on the top end of Super Nice alongside Yokai, but I don't think he's any higher than that for me. He didn't scream awesome, but in conjunction with Baymax, he can get there. He can get there. New Honey Lemon, poopy. I don't like her. I think shifting onto somebody and healing 1 damage is bad. I'd rather remove all damage with Baymax than just removing 1 damage with her. Just saying. I have to admit, I forgot this card existed. It's poopy. I forgot she existed, but I'm going to put her in the poop. Jasmine... not my jam. There's something about her I'm not keen on. Again, limited formats are going to go crazy for her. Something about her I don't like. Probably going to have people in the comments going, oh my god! It's okay. It's okay. Not my jam. Not my jam. And Pops is poopy. I'm sorry. I love him from Atlantis. He's not my boy. I do love Daddy Atlantis, though. I do love him. He's definitely better. He's out there with the kings. Put him with the other kings. He's definitely better than Edgar and an ugly stepsister. Who do we have next? Now, Kenai, this is interesting. I like the Brother Bear tech. I just think it's not my jam, personally. I just think the card isn't screaming at me. But you know what's screaming at me more? This Kenai is actually doing a lot more for me. And I think he's decent. I think he's decent on the same lines as like the Baymax is, where he's got something interesting I wouldn't mind trying out. But outside of that, I don't see the hype. I don't think he's crazy good or anything like that. I see this Kida and I immediately think poopy. I don't know. I'm not reading her. I don't like her that much. This King Candy I actually really like. I think he's super nice for racers. He's just solid racing tech. I can't complain. It's nice to see him. Good stuff. Something about the Kronk that I like, but I don't think I can put him any higher than decent for me. I think that's where I would put him, and that's it. I can't see him getting any higher than decent. Tremaine, I think this is the best artwork from Tremaine I've seen. She's a bit poopy though, like outside of limited formats, I don't know what deck you're going to put her in. I don't see it. I really don't. Limited formats are going to love her because she quests for 2, but that's all she's really doing for me. I mean, like I said, possibly one of the best artworks for her because she's ominous, she's evil. I always thought that Tremaine was like one of the best depicted villainous characters in the old school Disney movies because of how like they did her eyes with the lighting and everything was beautiful in Cinderella. Go and watch it. And the artwork's giving me those vibes and I like it. Outside of that, I don't see it. I think it's a bit poopy, personally. Next we have the Lucky that helps you get more puppies into your hand whenever he quests. I like him. I think he's no, you know what? I think he's actually super nice alongside Perdita. It's nice to have a decent puppy. And I think alongside the other puppies, you know what? Get up here. Keep all the puppies together. I'm liking this puppy tech. Something about the puppies that are making me go, yeah, let's go. You know, it's just getting my attention and going, woo. Right, we're almost there. We're almost covered all the cards. If you're enjoying the tier list so far, let me know in the comments. Consider subscribing for more Lorcana fun times coming in the future. We're going to be doing some next set tournaments and some next set deck building and all that jazz. So keep an eye out for that in the future. Be sure to join the Discord server as well to share any ideas you may have for the next set of Lorcana alongside me and other people. Rourke. Lyle Tiberius Rourke getting possessed. I think he's decent. I think there's something I would personally want to do with him in a limited format. I think he's cracked because he quests for 3. But I don't know. I don't think I can put him any higher than decent. But I think he's interesting. I think it's a very interesting character to have. Magical maneuvers, I personally don't like. I'm going to put it in poopy. I just don't like it. Maid Marian. Now, originally, when I first saw Maid Marian, I would have said decent. I would have said like probably on the same par as Jafar in decent. There's something about her I like, but I don't know what. But she's ally tech. And we've talked about ally tech throughout this video, and I've got the Cluck on freaking awesome. Ever since the Cluck got revealed and this other ally tech bits got sorted, she went from decent to super nice. I don't think I can put her in freaking awesome, personally. But I think she's really nice. Alongside the Aladdin, I think she's fantastic. There's something about her that's going to make allies a really fun deck to play with. And I'm here for it. But Until I see a deck list that works, I don't know. Can't put her any higher than super nice, but she's super nice. Maurice. Now, Maurice has a lot of tech that you need to play around with. You need to play him, you then need to banish an item that allows you to draw a card, then if it's Maurice's machine, you can then do more things. It's a lot of requirements, a hell of a lot of requirements, but I do think he's decent. I think he's on the lower end of decent. He's definitely in my jam because I love how quirky he is. In a very hyper-specific deck involving the Maurice machine, I think he can be quite cool. Outside of that, if you're not building that as your main gimmicky game plan, he's trash. He's borderline poopy basically most of the time. But for me, in my creative mind, there's something about him I want to try with Maurice's machine. He could end up poopy by the end of the set, but you know what? I like him for now. Which brings us on to Maurice's machine. I think it's on the same level. There's something about Maurice's machine that I like. The fact that when you banish it, you're then able to get an item back from your discard back into your hand that's 2 cost or less. That works with microbots, that works with Pulpsicle, that works with a bunch of the 1-drop items, 2-drop items that you can have access to in Ruby and Sapphire. There's a bunch there to pick from. I like it. Outside of a very specific deck where you're building around this, Maurice and the Shift Bell, hard to play. But that's why it's decent alongside Maurice. Outside of that combination, poopy. But there's something quirky there that I want to try. The new Merlin, I'm not sold on him. But I don't think he's poopy, so he's not my jam. I think that's my logic there. I don't think he's poopy, but I'm not feeling it with him, so he's just not my jam. It's as simple as that. The idea of the cards in not my jam, it's either cards that I think can be played by the right people in the right decks, whether it be quirky or not, and in the right format, but 9 out of 10 times it's not for me. That's my logic with that one. And yeah, he fits in that area just fine. Okay, so an evasive Moana that when she challenges can give another character plus attack until the end of your turn. I think she's decent, but I can't rate her any higher. I think she's like on the same level as Rourke for me. She's definitely going into that Ruby Sapphire attacking deck that we want to see. Outside of that, and even then outside of limited, I think she has limited space in your deck if you're going to a more competitive, viable option. A fantastic evasive, in my opinion. I think she's a fantastic pick if evasives start to become a big problem. Outside of that, however, not too sold. Limited format, I think she's really good. Outside of that, decent. So I think she's in a very good spot. Mother Gothel. When I first saw this Mother Gothel, I would have probably put her in super nice. Simply because of the artwork alone. The artwork is brilliant. Overall, if I was rating it on card art, it would definitely sit in super nice. But I'm thinking of every aspect of the card. I think she's only decent, and for me personally, she's lower on the decent ladder than the Maurice combo. And I think it's the color combination again. I don't see it, I don't like it, I don't think damage manipulation is there yet. It's quirky and I like it. In the combination of Ruby Amethyst, I get it, but I'm not sold on it, so to say. Yeah, it just doesn't do it for me. Simple as. Doesn't do it for me. I think it's decent in the right format, probably in limited. In the right deck, great. If you're doing a damage manip deck, great. It's not for me. But I think she's decent. Don't think she's trash, she's decent. New Mufasa. He's vanilla, he's going to sit in the vanilla cards, but she's definitely better than them. Put him with the kings. He deserves to be with the kings of the cats. Let's go. Let's go. This Mulan is holy wow. I love this Mulan. I like how this Mulan is like Assassin's Creed style Mulan. The artwork is popping off like mad. I like the tech. I like the color combination with Mushu. She's awesome. She is a shiftable. Everything I like about this Mulan is like exceeded upon. I like inner screamed when I saw her because I'm like, ah, my god, he's really good. Ramushu, let's go. Yeah, I like her. I like her. I know I don't have a lot of Holy WoW cards, but you need to be like exponentially awesome to hit my Holy WoW radar, and she was. She hit it like right out of the park. Next card, out of order. It's basically, it's what? A Maleficent dragon without a character, an action in Ruby that's inkable, but can just banish anything that you want. It's Poopy. I'm sorry. I'm not sold. I'm really not sold on him. I'd rather play Maleficent Dragon because Maleficent Dragon overall is just better. Maybe in Limited, but if you're using 7 ink in Limited to banish one character, what the living hell are you doing? Not for me. Just not for me. Not gonna say anything else, not for me. Next Madrigal, I don't like her, she's poopy. I'm just gonna be straight up with you. Now we get to a boy! Yeah! My boy of the decks, of the set, ladies and gentlemen, let's go! Pirate Mother Hubbing Pete. The local lot, shout out to my local lot at Geek Retreat. You guys know, I have been loving the Pete cards and I have been waiting to make a Pete deck. When this guy got revealed, I inner and outer screamed so hard I think I had a complaint from my landlord. It was that mad. I love this card, I love its tech, I love its shutdown capabilities, I love how it works with pirates. It opens up a whole new world for me personally with the color combination. I'm going crazy and this is my go-to card for this set. I bloody love this Pirate Pete. There's something about Emerald Steel control that I'm gonna live for. PP is on fire. Pongo and the puppies. I do like this Pongo. I think he's alongside the other puppies in super nice because it's really super nice to see puppy tech. Because I respect puppies. I totally respect puppies. I think they deserve more love. So Queen of Hearts, when she has damage, she gains +3 attack. I'm gonna be brutally honest. Poopy. I think in Limited, if you also get the shift Queen of Hearts, I think she's more viable simply because of a shift target and for what the shift Queen of Hearts does. Outside of that, I don't like her. Outside of that, I think she's just, like, just trash. I'm sorry, but I personally prefer the 2-cost rush Queen of Hearts. Because she does something straight away and I feel like she's better off. I could be wrong. I mean, you can use her with Vitalisphere, get some damage on her, and then she immediately becomes bigger as soon as she gets hit. And what? It's +3 attack, so she immediately gets to 4, which means she's at, oh, Medusa can't hit me stage. And that's good. I like it. Not for me. Not for me. Raya in Steel. I don't know what she does off the top of my head. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, this character gains... Oh, yeah. So, the next one's for Steel Raya. You put something into your inkwell, she gets resist +1. Is it until... It's until that, right? Yeah. Gaining resist +1 until the start of your next turn when you ink something is interesting. Putting her in Sapphire Steel with a little bit of ramp so she can get a couple of resists on her is good. I think Limited format she'll be great. Outside of Limited format, I don't see it. I think with that logic alone, I just don't think she's my jam. I think she sits perfectly in the not my jam area. I could see playing Limited. Definitely see playing Limited. Outside of that, I'm not too sold. Oh, now this little furry friend here. You know what? I actually think he's super nice. He's not top tier super nice for me, but I think he's the nicest card out of the bulk cards that I've personally seen. I think he, outside of Mittens, that is. I like him. I think he's quirky. I love the artwork. Yeah, there's something about him that I find really, really nice. Now that is... Mr. What's his doodle? Mr. Dog. Mr. Dog. Okay, Roger Radcliffe, who's capable of removing damage from every puppy you have in play. In limited puppy tech, I think he's great. I think outside of that, he's decent in a puppy deck, but I don't know how many of him you really want to play. I think you want to just prioritize mass puppies over the healing tech of puppies. Unless you're maybe doing something quirky with, like, maybe Puppy Pabby with more PP? I don't know. I think he's not my jam. I think in the puppy deck at large, I think he's the weakest addition. But I don't think he's impossibly bad. I think you can definitely do something with him. If you get a few puppies in limited and you just want to be able to heal them up and maintain board presence in a limited format with maybe adding in Tramp if you're using multicolor limited, I think it's absolutely fine. But yeah, he's only ever going to sit in Not My Jam. He's not poopy. I don't think he's poopy because it depends on how you build the puppies, but for me, not there. Okay, we get two more coils, Ruby and Sapphire coil. Now, I did say earlier that I find the majority of the coil cards to be net worth bad. However, big however, I think Ruby Coil is borderline decent, and I think it's decent enough to stand in particular decks. I think you need very particular decks for one added damage output to make it work for best. I think you can definitely put it into the Mushu deck. I think you can definitely put it into the Ruby Emerald deck where you want damage on your guys, in order to, like, tackle into big things but still stay alive afterwards. I think that's cool. But I think it's only going to be decent in hyper-specific decks, and also in certain decks when it comes to limited formats. Outside of that, Sapphire Coil is super nice. I really like Sapphire Coil. I think it's going to definitely see play in some regard. I think it's capable of doing a lot more than what other people are thinking. It's a 2-cost item, so it synergizes quite well with Maurice. If you want to do the Maurice's machine, the weird tool tech, I like that. Like a mini engine alone is very intriguing. So I like it. I think it's the best coil in the game by far. Now we get to some bigger boys. Scrooge. Item Scrooge, where you can play him for free and he helps out your items. If you told me to rate the Scrooge, he's always been freaking awesome, and he's still freaking awesome. And he's up here alongside Donald. The ducks are pretty darn great. I think for items, he's pretty darn awesome. I don't think he's the best new item, like, card in the set. We'll get to that one. I think he's great for what he does. We have a Sir Kay. It's great to see you. You're definitely better than any of these guys, though. I'm going to put you lower than the Kings. Snow White. I think this Snow White is poopy. Outside of limited, I just don't like her. I really don't like her. Interesting card art. I like the fact that she's hanging out with, like, mecha animals. Pretty cool. But outside of that, pretty poopy. I don't like her. I think it's the same with this card as well. I think it's poopy. I don't like it. It's, what can I say? We get to the other stabby brother that gives the other stabby brothers rush. No, poopy. I don't like him. I don't like the stabbies. Steel Coil. No, poopy. I really don't like the tech of that one. Just, no. Just no. We got more vanilla. I think that's Susie, if I'm not mistaken. Because it's Susie, I'm going to rate it higher. Because I have a friend called Susie at the locals. Shout out to Susie. But here we go. I think this Tamatoa is absolutely cracked. I think that Tamatoa has to be the single greatest card in this entire set. It's incredible. It's on curve. It works well with the other Tamatoa. I will borderline say I think he sits well in every item deck that involves Sapphire. But where you even don't necessarily need the bigger Tamatoa, I think he's just net worth insane. He's better than the Scrooge in my opinion, but I think the Scrooge and him can be interchangeable depending on decks you play them in, ideas you have with each other. I just think that Tamatoa is cracked. I think he's stupid good. There's a reason why like early predictions of his pricing are through the roof. I think I saw him going for like 50 euros already on pre-sale, which is mad. But yeah, I think he's really good. I think he'll easily be one of the most sought after cards in the entire set. More vanilla cards, beautiful artwork. Not a big fan, but you know what? Lower than the King. Lower than the Kings. Like the artwork, but not that much. Oh my god. Who the heck thought that giving this friggin' Krakatoa Wazak a shift character that does ballistic things was a good idea? She's just not my... She's not poopy, because there's an effect here that makes me really go nuts. But it's not for me. It's just not for me. I don't like it. I don't swing with it. I don't dig it. It's just not my jam, but someone's going to be crazy enough to make the deck. It's just not me, okay? Being honest. We have... the Prince. Well, guess what? Are you better than a king? No. I think you're, like, with Sir K. I think you're on that level for me. The Queen. Very interesting effect where you're shuffling your opponent's cards back into the deck, but if you hit a princess, you gain 4 lore instead of 3. That's game-ending potential, and if we're talking limited formats, she's busted good. Limited formats, she is fantastic. I quite like her. Outside of that, decent, very, like, hyper. It's potential, it's game ending, but I think you need very specific things. It can screw over item decks. This is the one thing I think people are sleeping on the Queen for. I think in particular matchups, especially against item decks that do put quite a few of their items in the discard with Flaversham and a bunch of the new tech, this will screw them over, because if you shuffle them back into the deck, they don't gain lore, you do, which is fantastic. It screws over Tamatoa being able to get items back. I think it can be good in the right matchups. And in I think it's like anti-tempo, like anti-specific matchups, which is decent. And in limited's pretty darn nice. But outside of that, I just think she's okay. At best. At best, she's okay. This Hercules card, where you can both play a character for free, you're able to tempo the board in Emerald in order to make it so that you gain a benefit and your opponent doesn't. I think this card is super nice. I think it's right up there with Hero for me. I really like it. I think you can easily put it in a deck where you can control the board hard enough where your opponent, you play this out, you gain a benefit by being able to play a character for free, and you probably want to look at something on your top end like a Clarabelle, for example, and then your opponent just can't play anything because you've been discarding cards, you've been like bend to my will their hands and whatnot. I think it's got really cool potential. It didn't wow me. I wasn't going, woo, that's awesome, but but I think it's nice. It's a nice card. Thunderbolt. He's definitely up there with the other puppies. I think, like I've said prior, the puppies in general give me a lot of loving. Love the new tech. I think Thunderbolt is a very cool addition. I love the fact that he's been added into the game. He's got beautiful artwork. Love it. And for the fact that he can shift on any puppy makes him essential for the puppy decks. If you are running your puppies in limited and you manage to pull a Thunderbolt as well, you're on crack. You are on crack and you're winning the game. Simple as. TikTok, I don't like you. You're kind of poopy, but the app isn't. You should follow me on TikTok. For some more quirky Lorcana videos. Let's go. Training staff's not my jam. I think in limited it will probably see some play, but outside of limited formats, probably not. You can maybe splash an odd copy of it into the Ruby Steel list with Mushu and Mulan. Then maybe be able to discard it, and if you have a copy of a Cogsworth out, makes Cogsworth a huge boy again. Decent, but I don't think he's crazy. Now, I have put the illusion characters quite high, and I've generally thought they're super nice. Treasure Guardian that relies on illusion characters is interesting. He quests for 2. I think, again, in a limited format, if you pull a couple of illusions, you maybe want that little bit of card draw tech and bounce off of it. Good stat block, good, obviously questing for 2. I think he's decent in the limited formats. Outside of that, and outside of an illusion-based deck where you're probably not going to run a lot of him, hard to say. But I'll definitely put him as decent. I think, overall, decent card. Outside of that, meh. Good old Trusty. I'm sorry, you poopy. He's a 2/2 support. Guys, I'm sorry. I don't want to do the dogs dirty, but they're not doing me any favors. I'm sorry. Now, this is for Tool. This Tool, I think, is super nice. And to me, is alongside Bell in the super nice territory. I think there's a combination you can do here with the Bell to benefit off of Bell's tech. I think there's also something you can do here with microbots, and that intrigues me. And with the deck building opportunities that you can do with this card, I think that already gives me a reason to love this more than what other people would love about it. But you know what? I gladly say it's super nice. I wasn't sold on it at first. If you told me when I first saw the card, do you like it? I'd probably say not my jam because I wasn't feeling it. Now that I've sussed different ideas you can do with it, I kinda like it. I think it's okay. Wake up, Alice! Wake up, Alice I think is on the low end of decent. I think it's okay. Across the board. I wouldn't go crazy and say, oh my god, it's meta defining. Of course not, but it's decent, it's fun, it's a quirky deck addition if you need it. I like it. For what it does, it's okay. So this Wendy Darling is interesting. She's evasive, 5/7, quest for 2, and whenever one of your characters is banished, you can immediately remove all damage off of another chosen character. Interesting. In the color combination, it's kinda huh? It'll be interesting in a racing deck, but again, at the same time, I'm like, you wouldn't put it in Racer, really. It's a little bit too high-costed in racing decks, and by the time you're able to banish a guy and heal damage off of another guy, the synergy's not there for that specific deck. Outside of that, Amber Ruby Pirates, maybe, but I'm not... not my jam. She's definitely not my jam. Limited formats, you'll go crazy for her. I think she's a little bit too high costed for limited. But if you need a top end card for limited, sure, she's fine. Outside of that, yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it with her. Hear me out. Splash tech this card. If you splash tech this card in Ruby Steel Mushu, so that you ready everybody challenges, maybe you have Farzu, so you can trigger Farzu and get, free lore. Maybe that's decent. Maybe that is a decent play you can pull off. But 9 out of 10 times, it's gonna be poopy. I think maybe you can also pull him off in the Ruby Emerald deck? There's something interesting there. I don't know. I wanna say decent, but I can't. I personally can't. Outside of a hyper-specific place, in a hyper-specific deck, where even I don't think it's going to fit in there. It's only there if you want a really quirky, random play to pull off one thing. Yeah, it's poopy. Sorry, it's just poopy. Grandma, it's me, Anastasia. I mean, a free one, but when challenged you discard a card. I'd rather play Merfolk. In Limited, she'll see play. Limited, she'll absolutely see play. Outside of Limited, she's a really poopy girl. I mean, she's better than her, ugly sister counterpart that has nothing going on. And plus, memes? Memes? But outside of that, meh. Helga. She is the limited Calhoun, I guess? But overall... and because of... She sits in poopy. Nice and easy. The big John Silver, I wanted to say he was super nice, but I've looked into him. I've tried. I'm actually going to do it. I think he's poopy. Like, you want to put him in the Pete deck. I know you do. I know you want to build him in some awesome pirate-based deck, but he's not worth it for the cost he is. And if you can get him out for 6 cost, he's just not that good. Okay? He's just not that good. I'm sorry, he's a little bit... He's on the poopy side. You know who's not on the poopy side? This Li Shang. I actually think this Li Shang's super nice. Li Shang is really nice, helps out with the tech. He's another fantastic Li Shang to have in like the tech they've got going on in Ruby Steel. I like it. I quite like it a lot. Okay, so hear me out. New Madam Mim. Highly costed. Nice stat block. Quest for 2. Exerts chosen opposing character whenever she quests. Limited format, go. Limited format, absolutely beautiful. Outside of that, low end of decent. But in the decks I'm thinking of, she is just not my jam. I think only being able to exert one character and not keeping them, like, don't get me wrong, if she made it so that you exert a character and then that character can't ready for the next turn, she would definitely be uninkable at that cost and at that stat block. In Limited, she's fantastic, and that's why she deserves where she is in Not My Jam, because in Limited, she would be my jam. Outside of Limited, I can't think of any deck that would want her, especially at 4 cost when that is a very, very hard spot to put her in. So... yeah, I think she sits there beautifully. Keep an eye out for her for Limited, though. Like I've said, I think she's really good there, but... yeah... oh, look, it's pain. And it's painful to say, but you're poopy, dude. You're poopy vanilla. So you're actually bottom of the rung poopy. Yeah, I'm just gonna say you're a bottom of the rung poopy. I'm sorry, dude. You just are. You want to talk more poopy? There's another poopy card for you. Outside of questing for 2 lore, I just think she's poopy. I'm sorry. I'm just calling it out. Calling it out. Now, this Shere Khan, I don't know what to think about this Shere Khan. I'm going to put him on the low end of super nice. There's a deck that wants to play him. I don't know what deck that is. I think... well, yet again, if you combine him with the Shift Clarabelle, so you get rid of your entire hand, and then Clarabelle triggers at the end of your turn, you can get your entire hand back, potentially, even if it's just a couple of cards. I can see him being decent. I can see him being okay. He's an uninkable. I think he's in Limited. It could be fantastic, because I think in Limited, where you don't have a lot of options for card draw in general, but you have the amount of ink to play him out, and it's basically, look, I quest for 4 next turn, I win or you get rid of him somehow. I think he's fantastic in Limited. Outside of that, there is a deck that will play him, and I'm interested in it. Hyper-specific, I know, but I think I like the quirky tech, okay? I can dig it. Gonna be honest, not too keen on this card at all. I think it's poopy. Not too keen on Takar. I think she's poopy. I think just Takar in general is being shafted. Maybe like in Limited again, Takar would actually be great, but I can't fathom the idea of Takar being decent. I just can't even. The Phantom Blot. Now the Phantom Blot, 3/1 with Rush. Nicely statted. It's basically a Stitch without the alien trait that he has on him. Limited, if you need something to rush into something, great. Solid. Brilliant. I think he's poopy. I love him for the vibes again. I love me some Phantom Blot. Not my jam. Just not my jam. And I think he's just more poopy than jammy. Let's put it that way. Then it's for Yzma. Yzma has a very interesting tech, and I think if you want to put her in a very hyper-specific Amethyst Emerald Tempo deck, but also has discard, she's great. I feel that now the one thing you need to bear in mind, it is a mandatory effect for both players at all times, so you need to bear that in mind. But if you're able to maintain, like, if you're able to make it so that your opponent's tackling into you and having to tackle into you, like maybe playing out the Peter Pan, where if they don't challenge into you, they can't gain lore at all by any means, then this card actually really works out. It's very high costed, but at least it's inkable. So you know what? I actually think it's decent. I think there's a deck that'll be able to pull it off. I think it's on the same lines as for Queen for me, where I think it's very hyper deck specific, hyper anti-deck specific. But I think it's there. I think it's okay. Then we got the Emerald Yzma that has steel tech. It's poopy. It's cool to see steel tech on an Emerald card, and I think she's an okay shift target for the bigger Yzma if you're doing the tempo play. I just don't think she's a very good Yzma in general. I think there are better shift target Yzmas that you can pick over this specific one. And finally, Pirate Pete, 1-drop, banish an item when you do a thing. He's super nice, but he's on the low end of super nice. And I know some people are going to go, oh yeah, you put Pete as super nice, bias. Of course I'm biased. I love Pete. I love Pirate Pete. He's great artwork, nice little effect to have. Outside of in limited, not great. I mean, he can also be great, because if you're going against an opponent that is using the Maurice's Machine tech or Bell tech, where they want to banish their own items to gain the positive results, you can stop them from doing that, which is great. You can stop them from benefiting off of Flavisham, you can stop them from benefiting off of Bell, stop them from benefiting from a free Scrooge. I think it's net worth good. And I think it's super nice. I will fight anyone that says otherwise. That's my tier list. So that's my tier list. Only 5 cards in the Holy WoW tier, but I think they are, in my opinion, the best of the best. But freaking awesome tier. We've got some amazing cards in there that I'm really hyped for. Super Nice has a lot of really super nice cards. Of course it does, but I'm really interested in. There are even decent cards that I am interested in, but again, decent is kind of like in that halfway spot where I like them, I can see potential in them, or they're just not my jam, or I don't think I can push them any further than decent. Not my jam is just simply, well, not my jam. I don't see it. There's probably a deck out there and a person out there that does see these cards and want to do crazy stuff. Not for me, but maybe for you. There's quite a lot of poopy cards. There's a lot of poop, but in the grand scheme of things, if those are the poopy cards that I've put in poopy, and we got not my jam upwards, but I think are at least playable, that's good, right? That is good, at least in my eyes. And then the vanillas. Shout out to Susie. Shout out to Cozy. Shout out to my other half, because she'd be happy about the top end. And there we go. I think it's a decent tier list. I think I've made some very honest opinions here about what I feel about the set. What's your tier list looking like? Let me know. If you want to do it yourself and then share with me your tier list over on Discord or on my socials on Blue Sky, feel free to let me know, because it'll be a great back and forth and we can compare lists and see how we all go. This is all my opinion. This is not the opinion of anything like meta relevant or anything like that. I've already gone over that at the beginning of the video. Thank you for tuning in this entire length. I know it's a bit of a lengthy one, but you know what? It's fun. And I hope you've had fun, I've had fun, and I hope you look forward to the next set as much as I am, because it's going to be fun, and it's going to be great. Let me know your thoughts on the tier list, on the set, on anything else Lorcana-wise, down in the comment section below. I'll be seeing you guys for some more Lorcana action in the future. Be sure to subscribe, follow me on my socials, and all that fun jazz, all the links you want in the description below. Until then, stay safe, stay awesome, most importantly, stay explosive. I'll be seeing you guys next time.